Welcome to today's deep dive. Um, I want you to imagine your living room for a second.
Okay, picture it.
Yeah, you're looking at this like really stylish, beautifully upholstered footrest sitting right there in the middle of the room.
Just totally normal, everyday furniture.
Right, exactly. It matches your sofa perfectly. The fabric is elegant, and it's even holding a little tray with your morning coffee.
Sounds lovely, honestly.
It is. But then you walk over, you pull the cushion top off, and you realize it's a fully functional commercial-grade trampoline just sitting right there on your rug.
Which is just, I mean, it's a wild concept to wrap your head around.
It really is. So our mission today is to explore how this highly specific thing went from a makeshift DIY hack to a booming home design trend.
And it really has boomed, especially in the last couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. We're diving into a really fascinating set of sources today. We've got the 2026 Spring and Stitch Guide, which is called What is a Trampoline Ottoman? Honest Guide for Parents.
That's a great primary source.
Yeah, and we're combining that with some deep insights from episode 9 of the Spring and Stitch podcast series.
Right, which gets super granular on the details.
It does. We are going to examine the actual engineering behind these pieces, why parents are just suddenly obsessing over them, and whether dropping a significant amount of money on a hidden trampoline is actually a worthwhile investment for your own home.
Because it completely upends the traditional expectation of what living room furniture is, supposed to do.
Right, like furniture is usually just for sitting.
Exactly. A footrest is historically a passive object. You put your feet up, or it just takes up space. Finding active, high-intensity fitness equipment engineered right into the center of a domestic space, well, it forces us to rethink how our homes can actually work for us.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand why people are putting kinetic equipment in the center of their living rooms, we first have to look at the mechanics of how you even build something like this.
Yeah, you definitely can't just, throw a blanket over a backyard trampoline and call it a day.
No, you cannot. The guide breaks down the anatomy of a trampoline ottoman into a very specific three-part construction.
Right, it's surprisingly modular.
Yeah, so we're looking at a commercial-grade mini rebounder at the core, a tight upholstery skirt that wraps around the frame and the legs, and then a removable cushion top.
And the underlying hardware is really where the vital engineering happens.
Yeah.
It starts with a powder-coated steel frame.
Which is important, right? Because, why not just regular steel?
Well, if you take raw steel and place it in a heavily trafficked area of a house for, say, 5 to 10 years, it's going to interact with a lot of moisture.
Oh, like spilled drinks and stuff.
Exactly. Spilled drinks from kids, sweat from workouts, and just the ambient humidity of a home. Raw steel rusts, and rust degrades structural integrity pretty quickly.
Got it. So the powder coating stops that.
Yeah, and powder coating isn't just a layer of paint. It's a dry powder applied electromagnetically to the metal, and then it's cured under high heat to form a literal impenetrable skin over the steel.
Oh, wow. So it literally bakes onto it.
Exactly. It seals it completely against corrosion.
Okay, so attached to that sealed frame is the tension system. And the guide mentions that buyers generally have to choose between springs or bungees.
Right, those are the two main options.
But I'm curious about the physics going on under the mat here. Like, why does a metal spring give you a firm, loud bounce, while a bungee cord is softer and quieter? What is actually happening to the kinetic energy there?
It really comes down to how those two different materials store and release force. So a metal coil spring has a very linear tension curve.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning when you land on the jumping mat, the steel coil pulls back immediately and aggressively. It comes to a rigid, sudden stop at the absolute bottom of your bounce.
Oh, I see. So there's no give at the very bottom.
Right. That sudden halt is what creates a firm, fast rebound. And it also generates noise because the metal coil is physically expanding and then snapping shut against a metal frame.
Which sounds like a nightmare if you live in an apartment.
Totally. Now, a bungee cord operates on an entirely different principle. It's made of heavy-duty elastic strands wrapped in a woven sheath, giving it an exponential tension curve.
Exponential tension, so it stretches differently.
Exactly. As you press your weight into a bungee, it stretches smoothly. It decelerates your body weight much more gradually before launching you back up.
So the deceleration is what makes it easier on the body.
Precisely that. That smooth deceleration translates to a much softer landing for your joints. And because the mechanism is just rubber and fabric stretching rather than, metal clashing against metal, it is virtually silent.
Which perfectly explains why episode 9 of the podcast heavily recommends bungees for apartment living.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I mean, nobody wants to hear metal springs squeaking through the ceiling while they're just trying to watch TV downstairs.
No, your neighbors would hate you.
Right.
Right.
But regardless of the tension system, you still need a mat that can handle all that downward force. The guide specifies PP mesh with heavily reinforced sewn edges.
Yes, that's a crucial component.
So what makes PP mesh the industry standard over something like, I don't know, a heavy-duty canvas?
Well, PP stands for polypropylene, which is a highly specialized thermoplastic polymer.
Okay, thermoplastic polymer. Sounds expensive.
It's just very durable.
Yeah.
If a manufacturer used canvas or standard nylon for the mat, the repeated downward force of an adult or a child jumping would permanently stretch out the fibers within a matter of weeks.
Oh, so it would just sag in the middle.
Yeah, you'd end up with a permanently sagging mat that bottoms out on the floor when you jump on it. Polypropylene is entirely different because it doesn't actually stretch at all.
Wait, really? It doesn't stretch. I assumed the mat was stretchy.
No, that's a huge misconception. The woven mesh transfers 100% of your kinetic weight directly to the springs or bungees, and then it snaps back to its exact, rigid, flat shape.
Oh, that makes so much sense. The bungees do the stretching, not the mat.
Exactly. The reinforced sewing on the edges is just to ensure the points where the bungees connect to the mat don't tear under that massive transfer of energy.
Okay, so understanding that commercial-grade foundation makes the distinction between the two types of products currently on the market a lot clearer.
Yeah, it really highlights the divide in the industry.
Because the guide splits the industry into cover-only systems versus integrated systems. And to me, this dynamic feels a lot like a car chassis.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, like a cover-only system is basically just buying a fancy fabric slipcover and stretching it over a cheap mini trampoline you might have bought online for $80.
Right, just throwing a nice dress on a cheap frame.
Exactly. It's like putting a luxury sports car exterior over a sputtering golf cart engine. It might look nice from across the living room, but the foundation is still going to drive terribly.
That's a perfect analogy. Hiding cheap hardware under premium fabric doesn't fix the underlying instability. In fact, it can be actively detrimental if the fabric cover obscures a failing spring or a rusting leg.
Because you literally can't see that it's breaking.
Right. Now, integrated systems, which are the primary focus of companies like Spring and Stitch, they engineer the rebounder and the upholstery together as one cohesive unit from day one.
So they are built to work with each other.
Exactly. The steel frame is specifically built to support the exact tension of the tailored fabric skirt. In episode 9, they detail how their handcrafted U.S. models, specifically the adult-friendly bounder and the 36-inch kids hopper, are designed so the upholstery skirt never interferes with the bounce mechanics.
Man, it really is like a superhero changing in a phone booth. Like it's this polite, functional footrest by day, and then an energy-burning trampoline by night.
That's exactly what they're going for.
So we have a highly engineered, durable piece of kinetic equipment. But the most pressing question for me is why people are putting it in the daily use zone.
Right, the living room.
Yeah. Why not banish the trampoline to the basement or the cold garage or a dedicated playroom where it just doesn't matter what it looks like?
Well, proximity removes behavioral friction. The guide introduces a foundational concept they call furniture, not toy.
Furniture, not toy.
Yeah. If a piece of active equipment is out of sight in a chilly garage, no one uses it. The effort required to go get it outweighs the desire to bounce.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. But if it's sitting functionally right between your sofa and your television, the barrier to entry is basically zero. You simply take the lid off and you're moving.
Right. It's just so easy.
And for parents of toddlers and preschoolers, having an instant indoor gross motor outlet is invaluable, particularly when, a week of bad weather, a harsh winter, or small apartment living restricts access to outdoor playgrounds.
Yeah, the physical energy release part makes intuitive sense. Kids get the zoomies, they have cabin fever, you just let them bounce it out.
Oh, for sure. It's a lifesaver.
But episode 9 of the podcast really digs into the neurological side of this trend too, specifically focusing on sensory regulation and proprioceptive input.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting.
So walk us through that. How does jumping up and down actually alter a child's brain chemistry or help regulate their nervous system?
Well, what's fascinating here is how proprioception works. It's often referred to as your body's hidden sense.
Hidden sense, like a sixth sense.
Sort of. It's the continuous subconscious feedback loop between your joints, muscles, and your brain that tells you exactly where your body is in physical space.
Oh, yeah, I think I follow.
For many kids, and particularly for neurodivergent or sensory-seeking kids, that internal map can feel understimulated. They might crash into walls, wrestle constantly, or act hyperactive simply because their brain is actively craving heavier physical input to feel grounded and secure.
Oh, wow. So they're not just acting out, they're physically looking for feedback from their environment.
Exactly, it's a neurological need.
So how does the trampoline ottoman specifically fix that, like fuzzy internal map?
It utilizes gravity. When you bounce on a rebounder at the absolute bottom of the jump, you experience a temporary increase in g-force. Your body weight effectively multiplies for a fraction of a second.
Like being on a roller coaster for a split second.
Right. That intense rhythmic pressure pushes heavily into the joints, ligaments, and core muscles, and it floods the brain with clear, organizing, proprioceptive data.
That makes a lot of sense when you put it like that.
Yeah, it's the active neurological equivalent of lying under a heavy-weighted blanket. Occupational therapists have used mini trampolines in clinical settings for decades for exactly this.
To help children organize their sensory systems.
Exactly. And the brilliance of the trampoline ottoman is that it takes that highly effective clinical tool and smuggles it seamlessly into your living room decor.
Smuggles it right past the aesthetic police. I love that. Okay, I completely buy the sensory science for kids.
Very well documented.
But here's where I struggle with the guide's claims, and I have to push back a bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
There's an entire section dedicated to adult use, stating that rebounding is a highly effective cardiovascular workout, and that parents can get a meaningful exercise session in just 10 minutes on an adult-rated model like the Bounder.
Yes, they make a big point of that.
Right. Is jumping up and down on a tiny 3-foot circle for 10 minutes actually constituting a real workout compared to just, I don't know, lacing up your shoes and going outside for a run? It sounds suspiciously like a late-night infomercial promise to me.
I know it does sound counterintuitive until you break down the biomechanics of rebounding versus running.
Okay, break it down for me.
When you go for a jog on pavement, your forward momentum and the harsh impact of your foot striking the ground are largely absorbed by the connective tissues in your ankles, knees, and hips.
Right, shin splints, knee pain, all of that.
Exactly. It's an incredibly high-impact, high-wear-and-tear activity, but rebounding changes the axis of gravity entirely. You are moving vertically against a yielding elastic surface.
Oh, okay. The bungee cord's absorbing the shock.
Yes. And remember that increased g-force at the bottom of the bounce we just talked about. Every time you hit the mat, every single cell in your body has to temporarily resist that multiplied gravitational pull to keep you upright.
Oh, so it's essentially a continuous full-body stabilization effort.
Entirely. Your core muscles are constantly firing to maintain your balance on an unstable surface.
I hadn't thought about the core engagement.
It's massive. Furthermore, that continuous vertical pumping motion acts like a physical vacuum for your lymphatic system.
Lymphatic system.
Yeah. Your lymphatic system doesn't have a pump like your heart does. It relies entirely on muscular contraction and gravitational shifts to circulate lymph fluid and remove cellular waste from your body.
Oh, wow. So jumping literally pumps the fluid around.
Exactly. Because the bungee mat absorbs up to 80% of the impact, your heart rate spikes rapidly without the joint trauma of running. 10 minutes of vigorous rebounding can absolutely yield the cardiovascular and lymphatic equivalent of a much longer, steady-state jog.
That is actually incredible, given that it can serve everyone from a sensory-seeking toddler to a parent wanting a 10-minute cardio burst. The next logical question for you, the listener, is whether this makes financial and practical sense for your specific living space.
Right, because it's not going to be the perfect fit for literally every single house.
Definitely not. So let's talk about who it is worth it for first. Based on the guide, families with kids aged roughly 18 months to 10 years get the most out of it.
Yeah, that's the sweet spot for the developmental benefits.
Also, homes where a regular mini trampoline would just look visually cluttered or out of place. And households with multiple users, right, like if the parents use it too, the ROI is way better.
Oh, absolutely. And you really only need a room with about 4 to 5 feet of clearance to use it safely.
Right. Now, on the flip side, who is it not worth it for? The guide is pretty honest here. If you have a massive dedicated playroom and you don't care about aesthetics, You probably don't need to pay a premium for a hidden one.
Yeah, just buy a regular one at that point.
Exactly.
Bruh.
Also, homes with large backyard trampolines, or if your kids are over 10 and just don't care about bouncing anymore, oh, and basements with ceilings under 6.5 feet.
Right, you definitely don't want to be hitting your head on the ceiling.
No, that defeats the whole health benefit thing. So what does this all mean when we talk about cost? The cost breakdown is pretty stark. Cover-only options run around $80 to $250, but integrated pieces run from $300 up to $1,200, or even more.
It's a significant jump in price for sure.
It's huge. So explain why that premium tier costs up to $1,200.
Well, you aren't just paying for brand markup. You are paying for premium, safe materials. Things like Certi-Pure US foam in the cushion, which means it's free of harmful chemicals.
Okay, that's important for something in the living room.
Yeah. And Ecotech certified fabrics, thicker steel, longer life springs or bungees, and traceable US manufacturing.
So it's built to actually stick around.
Exactly. The piece is designed to last 5 to 10 years. You might replace the fabric cover eventually, but that heavy-duty rebounder core is a long-term investment.
Okay, that makes sense. Because we're dealing with premium materials and high-tension systems capable of repeatedly launching the weight of an adult, the physics of this furniture require some incredibly strict ground rules.
Yes, safety is paramount.
As much as it looks like a chic living room accessory, it is still a piece of kinetic equipment. The first major rule from the guide is crystal clear. Only one jumper at a time.
This is the most common mistake parents make.
I know every kid wants to jump with their sibling or their friend, but why is double bouncing so exceptionally dangerous on a mini rebounder compared to a big backyard trampoline?
It goes back to the physics of unpredictable energy transfers. The jumping surface area of a mini rebounder is incredibly small, usually only around 36 to 40 inches in diameter.
That's not a lot of room for two people.
It's really not. When two people bounce on that small of a surface, they are inevitably going to be out of sync. As jumper A lands, they push the bungees to maximum tension. If jumper B lands a fraction of a second later, jumper B absorbs all the kinetic energy of jumper A's bounce, plus the sudden recoil of all those bungees releasing at once.
Oh, man. So it just launches them.
Literally.
Yeah.
The mat essentially acts as a catapult, launching the lighter jumper in an entirely unpredictable direction with multiplied force. It's a recipe for severe collisions or being thrown straight off the trampoline.
Yeah, the physics just don't scale down to a small circle safely. That makes total sense.
Because it's just not worth the risk.
Rule number 2 requires active adult supervision for children under 6. Rule number 3 is maintaining a 3-foot clear perimeter around the ottoman. Like, you want to move it away from sharp coffee tables, stone fireplaces, or anything else someone could fall into.
Right. Treat it like actual gym equipment when it's in use.
And the final, absolutely non-negotiable rule the guide emphasizes. You must never, under any circumstances, bounce directly on the cushioned ottoman top.
Never. The cushioned lid is designed strictly for sitting or resting your feet.
Why is it so dangerous to jump on the cushion?
If a child or an adult tries to jump on it, the layers of upholstery foam absorb and disperse the downward force unevenly. It makes the landing surface wildly unstable, meaning an ankle roll or a knee twist is almost guaranteed.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. And beyond the physical danger to the jumper, bouncing on the lid will instantly crush that Certi-Pure US foam. It ruins the structural integrity and the aesthetic of the furniture piece forever.
So you always have to remove the lid entirely and set it aside before anyone steps onto the jumping mat.
Yes, without exception.
So bringing all of this together, it is remarkably clear that the trampoline ottoman isn't just a fleeting viral design gimmick.
No, it's really here to stay.
When you strip away the stylish upholstery and look at the underlying mechanics, you find a highly engineered solution to some very real domestic challenges.
It solves problems people didn't even know they could solve with furniture.
Exactly. It offers crucial sensory regulation for kids whose nervous systems just need grounding. It provides an immediate, weatherproof energy release when cabin fever sets in.
Which every parent knows is invaluable.
And it offers adults a legitimate, zero-friction tool for cardiovascular health and lymphatic drainage. And it accomplishes all of that without turning your carefully curated living room into a cluttered gymnasium.
It proves that utility and aesthetics do not have to be mutually exclusive in modern design. We demand a lot more multifunctionality from our living spaces today than we did a decade ago.
We really do. Space is at a premium.
It is furniture that actively adapts to our physical and neurological needs while still respecting the visual design of our homes. Well, it represents the natural evolution of how we live indoors.
So next time you are sitting in your living room, I want you to take a look around at your own furniture.
Just do a quick scan of the room.
Yeah. Look at your coffee table, your sofa, that footrest sitting quietly in the corner. Consider the hidden potential sitting right in front of you.
Could be more than meets the eye.
Could integrating a piece like the hopper or the bounder be the key to curing your family's winter cabin fever? Or getting that quick cardio burst in between remote meetings? It is amazing to think how much raw functionality can be disguised in plain sight.
It leaves us with a fascinating question to consider moving forward, really.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if we are currently engineering commercial-grade trampolines to hide inside elegant living room ottomans, secretly boosting our cardiovascular health and sensory regulation, what other standard passive pieces of household furniture are ripe for a secret health-boosting redesign in the next 5 years?
Oh, I love thinking about that. Like a bookshelf that folds out into a resistance rack, or maybe a dining room table with hidden ergonomic core stabilizers.
Who knows what's next? The possibilities are endless.
They really are. But until then, the next time you spot a stylish upholstered footrest sitting quietly on a rug, remember, it might just be a commercial-grade track and field setup in disguise. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We will see you next time.